There's always that one moment, the kind you don't notice at first, but once you do, you can't unsee it. A glance that lingers a second too long. A smile that feels just a little softer. A reaction that doesn't quite match the situation, yet somehow says everything. And when it comes to Jungkook and Jimin of BTS, fans have spent years collecting these moments, trying to piece together something that feels both obvious and impossible to define. So what is it really? What makes Jungkook so captivated by Jimin? Is it just friendship? Chemistry built over years of shared struggle? Or is there something deeper in the way Jungkook looks at him? Something even he might not fully understand? Let's start from the beginning. Not the debut, not the fame, but the dynamic. Jungkook, the youngest, entered a world where everything was already moving fast. Expectations, pressure, uncertainty, it was all there from the start. And then there was Jimin, slightly older, equally driven, but emotionally expressive in a way that stood out. While others showed strength through control, Jimin often showed strength through vulnerability. He didn't hide his emotions. He carried them openly. And here's the question that keeps coming back. Could that openness be exactly what drew Jungkook in? Think about it. In environments where everyone is trying to prove themselves, being emotionally transparent can feel risky. But Jimin did it anyway. He laughed loudly, cried openly, cared deeply. And Jungkook watched. Not just casually, but attentively. Fans have noticed how Jungkook often reacts to Jimin differently compared to others. When Jimin speaks, Jungkook listens, really listens. His expressions soften. His body language shifts. It's subtle, but consistent. And consistency is where patterns become meaningful. Is that admiration, comfort, or something that sits somewhere in between? There's also the undeniable aspect of contrast. Jungkook is often seen as composed, controlled, sometimes even reserved. Jimin, on the other hand, brings warmth, spontaneity, and emotional intensity. It's a classic dynamic, the calm and the fire. And when those two forces meet, something interesting happens. Balance. But balance doesn't just happen randomly. It's built through trust. And trust, especially in an industry like theirs, isn't given easily. So how did Jimin earn that from Jungkook? One possible answer lies in the countless small interactions that fans have archived over the years. Moments where Jimin checks on Jungkook without making it obvious. Times when he offers quiet support instead of loud reassurance. Situations where he seems to understand Jungkook without needing words. And Jungkook responds, not always verbally, but emotionally. He gravitates toward Jimin in group settings. He mirrors his energy. He laughs more freely when Jimin is around. That raises another question. Does Jungkook feel more like himself when he's with Jimin? Because if the answer is yes, that changes everything. People are naturally drawn to those who make them feel safe, seen, and understood. It's not about grand gestures. It's about the subtle sense of ease that comes from being accepted without explanation. And Jimin seems to offer that effortlessly. But there's more. Let's talk about respect. Not the kind that comes from hierarchy or reputation, but the kind that grows from witnessing someone's dedication up close. Jimin's work ethic is intense. His attention to detail, his constant drive to improve. It's something even his members have acknowledged many times. Jungkook, being someone who also values growth and excellence, doesn't just see that, he relates to it. Could it be that Jungkook sees a reflection of his own struggles in Jimin? Late nights, self-doubt, the pressure to be perfect. But unlike Jungkook, Jimin externalizes those struggles. He expresses them, confronts them, shares them. And maybe that's what makes him so compelling. Because sometimes, the things we struggle to express ourselves are the very things we admire most in others. There's also the emotional safety factor. Have you ever noticed how people behave differently depending on who they're with? With some, you're guarded. With others, you're relaxed. With Jimin, Jungkook often appears lighter, more playful, more spontaneous, less burdened. And that's not something you can fake over years. That kind of comfort is real. But let's challenge that idea for a moment. Could it all just be fan interpretation? After all, we're looking at public moments, curated content, edited clips. Is it possible that what fans perceive as captivation is simply strong friendship amplified by visibility? It's a fair question, but here's where it gets interesting. Even in unguarded moments, behind-the-scenes footage, candid reactions, unscripted interactions, the same patterns appear. Jungkook's attention shifts toward Jimin naturally. Not forced, not exaggerated, just instinctive. And instinct is hard to fabricate. There's also the way Jungkook reacts when Jimin is absent. That subtle difference in energy. The quieter demeanor. The missing spark. It's not dramatic, but it's noticeable. And that brings us to another layer. Emotional reliance. Not in a dependent way, but in a grounding way. Everyone has someone who stabilizes them, who anchors them when things feel overwhelming. Could Jimin be that person for Jungkook? And if so, what does that say about their connection? It's easy to label things. Friendship, brotherhood, teamwork. But real human relationships rarely fit neatly into categories. They're complex, evolving, sometimes contradictory. And maybe that's why this dynamic feels so compelling. Because it resists simple explanation. There's also the undeniable factor of time. Years of shared experiences, training, debuting, touring, growing up under the spotlight. They didn't just meet, they evolved together. And when people grow together, they develop a kind of understanding that outsiders can't fully grasp. Inside jokes, silent communication, unspoken support. Those things don't happen overnight. They're built moment by moment, year by year. And Jungkook and Jimin have had plenty of time. But time alone doesn't guarantee closeness. Plenty of people spend years together, without forming deep bonds. So what made this different? Maybe it's the mutual effort. Jimin reaching out, Jungkook responding. A continuous exchange of energy, attention, care. Not one-sided, not forced, just natural. And yet, there's still that lingering question. Why does it feel like Jungkook is particularly drawn to Jimin? Why not someone else? What makes Jimin stand out? Could it be his emotional intelligence? His ability to read people? To sense what they need without being told? Or is it something less tangible? Something you can't quite define, but you can definitely feel? Sometimes, the strongest connections aren't built on logic. They're built on something quieter. Something instinctive. A sense of familiarity that doesn't need explanation. And Jungkook's reactions to Jimin often carry that exact energy. Familiar, comfortable, real. But here's where things get even more interesting. As Jungkook has grown, becoming more confident, more independent, his dynamic with Jimin hasn't faded. If anything, it's matured. Less obvious, maybe. Less playful at times, but deeper. More grounded. And that kind of evolution suggests something important. This isn't just a phase. It's a connection that adapts, that grows, that persists. So again, we come back to the core question. What makes Jungkook so captivated by Jimin? Maybe it's not one thing. Maybe it's everything. The balance, the trust, the emotional openness, the shared history, the mutual respect. All of it woven together into something that feels significant. Not necessarily definable, but definitely real. And maybe that's why people are so drawn to it. Because in a world where so much feels staged and controlled, this feels genuine, unscripted, unpredictable, human. But what do you think? Are these moments just coincidences? Or do they reveal something deeper about their connection? Have you ever noticed a specific interaction that made you pause and think, wait, there's something here? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because honestly, this conversation is far from over. And if you enjoy diving into these subtle dynamics, uncovering the stories behind the moments, make sure to like, subscribe, and stick around. Because sometimes, the smallest details tell the biggest stories. Purple Heart.